Alright, so back to this. Yeah, just black screen video. About time I made this on this, again, series that I played through, right? Or game, Security Breach, Ruin. Again, I believe, yeah, I got all the parts uploaded, all 5. Here's what I will say though. I still haven't gotten that third ending yet. I know what I need to do to get it, and I'm gonna play through. However, the reason that I'm making this video is it actually got spoiled to me. I know what happens in all 3 of the endings. I guess the main one, again, in the 2 really we played through in that 5th part. But the third one, again, I know what happens, right? It's the scooper ending. So I figured I might as well just make this video now, this black screen, right? And then kind of talk about the game, what I want to with that. Again, because the big thing being, I'd say this is again, even though I've played through most of the games, this is the first one I've actually recorded. So, I guess is special in that sense. So, again, with that, right, we can just get into it. And I guess the big thing is some of this stuff I talked about at the end of the 5th part, but I'm going to try to go over specifically kind of my overall thoughts and opinions in this, video, right? Kind of stick to that, Don't get into like anything, I guess, too specific, but again, who knows. So, with that, let's get to it. So, first things first, for context, right? Again, I mentioned, yes, Jesus Christ, terrible. I know I'm just repeating myself, but I played through all the games, but the big thing is, or most of, not all of them, not even close. Still haven't played through, and this will come in relevant later. I haven't played through UCN or Help Wanted, the VR one. That'll come relevant later, and I'll bring it up. But for my history with, I'd say, Steelwool games specifically, given that I didn't play VR, right? The big thing is, really, Security Breach is the only Steelwool game I've played. Funny enough, as of this point, they came out with Help Wanted 2, which, again, VR, I'll just watch a playthrough of it, probably Markiplier's, just standard. But again, the big thing there, right, is my only experience via, or through, I haven't even played AR, but AR is made by a different company, but again, Steelwool is through Security Breach, and I originally played Security Breach back when it came out in 2021. Like, basically, as soon as it came out, I played on it. Again, I played it on my shitty laptop that barely ran it, so I couldn't record it, and again, I made black screen videos on that game, right, and kind of talked about my overall thoughts and opinions, but for the most part, I enjoyed the game, I liked it. I think it was a worth it experience, and overall, I'd say the same for this DLC. Again, obviously you pay for the game for the DLC. It's a free DLC, but it's really just an extension of the game, similar to like a good comparison would be Sister Locations custom, or I guess what would you call it? It'd be like Sister Locations, like like what would you call it? Not DLC, but like Sister Locations Extra Night, That's probably the most comparison. So it's something where it's like, I didn't put the money into it, but if for some reason you still haven't played Security Breach yet, I think Ruin is definitely a good reason to put the money into it if you, I guess, haven't watched or seen other people play it yet either. But, again, so there's that. Overall, liked it and enjoyed it. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to the cons. So I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. I want to let's just start with the cons, right? Because that's usually what I delve into. So it suffers, and I talked about this, the same fundamental problem as Security Breach Ruin does, and that is that it concludes, the conclusion and kind of how it wraps up is just, it's too quick, it happens too sudden, and there's too much left to be told, right? So there's not a conclusive, like, decisive end, and I think that is a big flaw with Security Breach. I talked about this. You're playing through the game, and all of a sudden it's like 6 a.m. And you have to choose, I guess, which ending you go, right? And it's like, all right, I mean, it seemed like it was gonna keep going, but I guess now it's all of a sudden ending. It's the same thing for Ruin, where again, it's the same deal where it seems like it's gonna keep going, then all of a sudden it ends. And what I will say is, at least within, because here's the thing, and I'll also get into this, right? Because at least with Security Breach, you had like you had many different endings you could go, which kind of made up for the fact that it ended so abruptly. You had, those different outcomes, but Ruin, really, even though it's three endings, it's only two, and they have pretty much the same outcome, you know? Because the, I guess, third ending that you get, where you see Vanessa and Gregory, that's just more insight into security breach, as well as the potential implication that even though the burn trap ending is, I guess, the quote unquote canon ending for security breach, maybe ruin takes place after the, I guess, good or, you know, the Princess Quest ending for Security Breach, which would explain Vanessa and Vanny's absence. Um, Again, so, but it's something to where, I mean, the difference between the scooper and normal endings like negligible, because you get shafted in both, literally in the normal ending, you elevator shaft, right, and then you just again you freaking you die either way. Let's put it that way. It is not a good end for Cassie, unfortunately, despite Roxy's pleas. But again, the so there's the problem, right? And that's like, all right, it is this sudden ending that kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like, all right, I mean, you know, cool, we die either way, fantastic, right? Um, and again, it's something to where in I brought up how Security Breach made up for that, you know, with their multitude of endings, and then also just one thing I wanted to point out is, and this kind of goes into, even though I enjoyed or liked both, I actually think I had a better experience with Security Breach. And the thing for that is Ruin, it is a vastly different approach, honestly, the direct opposite, almost counterpart dichotomy to Security Breach, with Security Breach kind of focusing on the megalo not Jesus Christ, I nearly said megalovania, like the megalomania aspect to it, right? Again, you're a small kid in this big, you know, setting and environment, right? Which, even though is a weakness, I'd say, for the game in terms of the fact that it's so empty, that kind of adds to that, you know, environmental setting aspect, and you get that sense of open world exploration, even though it's really not an open world game. You know, you get that sense, right? And you know, Ruin's the exact opposite. You know, it goes back to where it's like, all right, it is this small, constrictive, you know, very much linear game. And again, it's something to where if it was able to actually pull off a kind of coherent ending, that sounds harsh, but if it was able to pull off an ending, it would work out. But my problem is, because the ending, again, it has that same fundamental problem that Security Breach has, because that ending kind of comes about so suddenly. You know, it seems like that kind of was for nothing in a sense. Again, doesn't mean I didn't like it and didn't enjoy it, because it is a good kind of counterpart and dichotomy to Security Breach, gain that kind of opposite effect of, you know, for that open world gameplay, very similar and I'd say reminiscent to the Joy of Creation, if you know, again, that fan game, right? Which was kind of the free roam FNaF thing. I guess supposedly it's made a comeback, I don't know, but I mean, it really only people only played it because it was free roam and it was the only one at the time. But very, I'd say, reminiscent and reflective of that. And again, also seeing that, honestly, seeing mostly the story with Roxy and Cassie, right? You know, that also hit hard. The only thing I could think that hit as hard was, again, the FNaF 6 like ending kind of sequence. But and kind of, you know, and but what I will say is, because with Security Breach, right, and I guess it makes sense because Security Breach is like the main and primary game, like Ruin's just kind of the DLC. With Security Breach, at the very least, even though that ending did kind of come about sudden, you at least had the kind of, again, you had the actual like gameplay aspect to it that made up for it. Again, that open world, like kind of megalomania feel there, right? That open world gameplay kind of adventure, you know. So it's just something to where, and kind of this is just the main thing I wanted to touch on for this video. At least, you know, my experience playing through, right? Because, you know, I know some dude's probably going to make an hour-long video on Ruin, say like, oh, just to say the most generic thing possible, but, you know, just the big thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, speak about, is just that and kind of what I noticed and got from that. Obviously, in my eyes, it was still worth playing. You know, I did have 2 points, a thing to touch on. There were 2 points where I kind of needed to look up what I needed to do, and they were both at the very beginning. However, once those two had happened, I was able to, what would you call it, just move forward. I remember vaguely during Security Breach, I'm pretty sure there was there were two parts I needed to look up on security breach. One was to get out of like the first room, you know, not the first room, but like the main, the room where the animatronics like rooms are, right? That kind of area. And then the second part was the second part was dismantling Chica, right? But you know, again, the big thing there, right, and what this kind of comes down to, and again, I just wanted to make this video. I mean, I guess the big thing is, you know, not gonna be able to play Help Wanted, so you know, just you know, it is what it is. I'll watch it, obviously. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be interesting because I do know there, and this also might be kind of a point or like kind of something that impacts it, right? Because here's the thing: Help Wanted 1, the VR one, I did watch gameplay of that. With the big thing being obviously we kind of saw how that led into security breach as well as you know gave kind of some you know what's the term gave some kind of support to it or some supplementary kind of story. However, I know that I do know from what I have heard, Help Wanted 2 and Ruin are very closely linked. So it's something there to like the kind of big thing with that. And you know what I want to kind of note there is that you know since I can't play Help Wanted, I'm probably not getting the full experience out of Ruin, given that what would you call it? Simply because you know it's something to where at the end of the day, right? I'm not kind of seeing the rest of that story. Granted, I will watch a playthrough, but it is something where because I can't play it myself, right? I'm not gonna make a black screen video on it. But yeah, I think that's really kind of the last thing I need to mention. Really, honestly, I might not even go for this third ending now that's been spoiled, just because it's weird. I'll need to see and look at how their autosave system works and how the chapter system works. Because if I can go back to a chapter, replay through, and get the mini game I need to, then jump ahead, I'll do it. But if I need to replay through the whole game, I'm not going to. Oh, no, I'm tired. It's only 6 p.m. But again, with that, what I'll say is, I guess I don't really have anything else to say there. I think this kind of ends this video as well as this series. Glad I played it. You know, we'll say probably preferred security breach, given that it has the same fundamental issue or flaw as. I will say another interesting thing is, all right, keep delaying the ending. I did get a Unreal Engine crash during Ruin. It was in whatever part, I think 4. I don't know. Yeah, it was 4 because that's why I had to split it. Originally, I'd only gotten those during Security Breach and during the Princess Quest mini games. So the thing there and with that, right, is again, you know, my kind of big thing there, right, is yeah, you know, honestly, I originally only thought it would happen then. So I guess now it could just happen at any point. Which also I didn't even know it ran on Unreal, but you know, didn't really kind of piss me off, but I'd say, you know, just because it's like something that shouldn't happen, like you shouldn't be playing a game and it crashes like that. If a game freezes, you know, that's kind of a different story. But like the entire system crashing is like, all right, dude, what the fuck? But again, besides that, officially ending this here. Don't have anything else to say. Said what I needed to, said my part. But with that, I don't really have anything else to say. So yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.